As we are nearing the end of the year, it is the perfect opportunity to take a look back on the year that was and reflect on all of the trophy hunting that we've done over the course of the year. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing exactly that, and we are doing back-to-back trophy videos talking through the 20 platinums that I earned over the course of 2025. We're splitting this up into two parts. So today we're going to talk through 10 of the, I would say, newer, more modern platinums that I earned this year. And then in 2 weeks, we'll talk through 10 of the more classics catalog, PSP, PS1 and 2 type games that I got the platinums in as well. So plenty to get into over the course of this video, but if you are new to the channel, we have plenty of PlayStation trophy collecting videos for you to catch up on. I talked through my 15 rarest platinums, most common, my road to earning 100 platinum trophies over the course of the past 10 to 12 years or so. So I'll leave a link to those in the description below, but definitely let me know down below, how has your trophy collecting journey been going so far in 2025? Are you trying to sneak in a few more platinums before the end of the year? I'd love to get a total count down in the comments section below, and maybe just some of the memorable platinums that you've earned to date over the course of this year as well. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments section below, but without further ado, let's get into this first group of 10 platinums that I earned this year. All right, so it's important to note that all of these platinums are in chronological order, so in the order that I earned them over the course of the year, starting here with Astrobot. We'll get into this in a second. I should also preface this by saying that I am very under the weather. Turns out when you have a toddler, someone in your house is basically sick every single week between the months of November to February. It's just the great circle of toddler life, I suppose. So hopefully the froggy voice isn't too distracting. Maybe it actually is preferred to my normal voice. Who knows? But kicking things off with my personal game of the year in 2024, Astrobot. Came out in September, and you can see as we're kind of going through the trophy list here that I earned, I would say, maybe 50-60% of the trophies during my initial playthrough. And not gonna lie, those challenge levels, no joke, they are really pretty dang tough. And I remember kind of like some of them were really frustrating. I was kind of banging my head against the wall, and not that I thought it would, but I didn't want that frustration at the tail end of the experience trying to earn the platinum to in any way impact where I was at in my game of the year discussion with myself, right? Like, I didn't want that frustration to say, oh, I'm knocking this down a few pegs because I can't beat this one particular challenge level and I need this to earn the platinum. So we ended up kind of kicking this to a little bit into 2025. You can actually see here in January is when I started earning more of the platinums, collecting the remaining bots necessary to kind of close out each of those different worlds, and then ultimately kind of getting the final trophy necessary to secure the platinum. And Astrobot is really, and Team Asobi for that matter, just the gift that keeps on giving. We'll scroll down here and you can kind of see. So we have the base game, and then we have these DLC trophy packs. Stellar Speedway, I truthfully don't remember too much of, but Winter Wonder, this one here, what a beautiful little world this was. I mean, this was not just like, hey, this quick little speedrun challenge level, here you go. This was a full-blown level with all kinds of unique challenges in it that you would have expected to be in any other 3D platformer base game. And Team Asobi is like, hey, we have all kinds of care and love for this character, this game, hopefully this long-running series for PlayStation going forward. We're going to roll out these free DLC levels for you. And they've done this over the course of however many months post-release. And you can see here, I still have 2 trophy packs to jump back into, rescue some more bots, and earn some trophies, which we will be doing hopefully here pretty soon. But let's take a look at the trophy guide specifically here. If you are new to the channel or you are a longtime viewer of it, you know I love my 3D platformers, and I think the best trophy lists tend to be 3D platformers for me personally. And what I mean by that is when they really only ask you to beat the game, maybe do some level specific challenges to earn trophies, and then collect everything there is to find. And that is more or less what Astrobot asks you to do. First playthrough, get those level specific trophies, and then the character trophies and then some miscellaneous cleanup. One of the things I loved most about Astrobot is that you don't just have these different worlds that you're jumping into and these levels that you're jumping in and out of. You also have this crash site, this place where your ship crashes and then you're collecting all the necessary parts to rebuild your ship to go back to where you need to go with all of you and your little robot friends. But then you interact with all of the character-specific bots that celebrate and pay homage to a lot of PlayStation's past. And just such a neat way to continue to build upon what they did with Astro's Playroom. But this time, I think just doing it in an even bigger and better way with that crash site and everyone kind of having their unique little post-stop. Some of them were like entirely themed around a particular franchise when you found those different bots, and they were always kind of interacting with each other in unique ways. And I just thought that was so special. I'm not gonna get on my soapbox about this, but I just remember when Astrobot came out, there was a lot of people complaining because they thought this was like some marketing scheme by PlayStation that was too over the top, and it was just a way for them to market and push sales for their previous and earlier games. And I'm just like thinking, it's probably more of a state of our society that we need to put qualifying statements and asterisks next to the things that we love. But come on, people. Like, do you really think PlayStation is getting royalties when you go to eBay and buy Parappa the Rappa on PSP or I should say PS1, or a game like Daxter on the PSP? Like, no, come on. This is just an opportunity for Team Asobi to pay homage and just shower a bunch of passion and love on decades of PlayStation's history and just creating a fun 3D platformer. That's what Astrobot is, or at least that was my interpretation of the game. Maybe I'm crazy, but again, a very straightforward and simple trophy list and a platinum that I would say is quite memorable just because of all of the fun things that it asks you to do, but doesn't overstay its welcome, although those challenge levels are no joke. So just know what you're getting into if somehow, some way you've not had a chance to play Astrobot yet. Next up, we have Final Fantasy XVI, a very divisive game in the franchise. I think anything post Final Fantasy X tends to be divisive, or maybe even the PS1 Final Fantasies. It seems like everyone has an opinion about why it doesn't do enough of what they love about Final Fantasy. But I personally really enjoyed 16 when it came out in 2023, one of my top 5 games of the year. And when I initially played it, I made it through the game. I did all of the side quests. I got probably 80% of the trophies necessary to secure the platinum. But one thing you've got to know about me is that I tend to stray away from games that oftentimes have difficulty-specific trophies to get the platinum, and games that require you to replay the game again, especially RPGs. Final Fantasy XVI has both of those. You have to play it on, and we'll jump into the guide here to avoid, as to the best of our ability, any story-related spoiler trophies. But you've got to beat the game on the hardest difficulty, which unlocks once you beat the game regularly. And then you also naturally have to beat the game again. I mean, kind of by inherently, you would have to do that. And I will say this is also no easy feat. You can get through 50 to 60% of the game with no real issue because all of your icon abilities carry over from the first playthrough in a New Game Plus fashion. But I would say deeper into the game, in that kind of final boss rush mode, the bosses that you have to defeat are really pretty punishing and difficult. And it kind of gave me a feeling of endgame Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne type bosses. And for that, I enjoyed it. You know, it added an additional layer of complexity and challenge where you really have to carefully craft your icons in a way that are going to be most conducive against a particular boss, right? You can't just button mash like you may have in the base game, playing through it on your initial playthrough. You've got to be more strategic with how you craft your icons and which ones you're using and leveraging in combat. And for that, I think one of the best things that can come out of a trophy list that requires you to play the game a second time is playing through it and requiring you to play the game in a different way, right? It's almost like you're seeing different sides of it by playing it in a way you didn't during your initial playthrough, and that's more or less what this platinum requires you to do. in Final Fantasy 16. And I'm kind of scrolling up and down. I want to be very sensitive to the fact that a lot of people have probably not finished this game, so we'll kind of just stay here, and you can look at Clive in his beautiful face here, and we will not go deeper into it. But again, 3 out of 10 difficulty, because it really isn't too terribly challenging. It's just going to require those 2 playthroughs, and I think for me, I was well over 75 hours. I probably have north of 100 in 16 at this point, but I've also completed one of the DLCs. So still need to go back and complete that second story-based DLC at some point down the road. But and like I said at the top, big fan of 16, especially its characters, the boss battles, and the music by Masayoshi Soken, who did the 14 soundtrack as well. Just a really strong entry in the series, even if it is a departure from what we've come to expect from Final Fantasy, being more of a character action game than your traditional turn-based or action RPG. Still a great time, in my opinion. Next up, we have one of my favorite games played this year, that is Concrete Genie, an indie gem that I'm ashamed to say it took me this long to play, but I'm so thankful I finally got around to it, and just a terrific trophy list as well. But before we jump in, I always kind of like to do a quick summary about the game, what you can expect, the gameplay, and then ultimately we'll dive into how the trophy list kind of complements and supports that gameplay experience. But you're playing as this young man here. It's kind of set in this Seattle-like town, and he's just really into drawing. He has his paintbrush, he's this sketchbook, he's always kind of sketching these like kind of goofy-looking monsters and things like that, but there's a bunch of kids in the town that are bullying him. And so he feels isolated, and he's kind of like escaping into this sketchbook. But ultimately, these sketches, these monsters, the environments that he's drawing, the backgrounds of these characters in, all kind of come to life. And then you eventually are using this paintbrush to draw all over the walls in the city. So that kind of lends itself to puzzle solving and doing monster-specific things with your paintbrush in order to bring them to life, or get them to react and do certain things to kind of progress into the town and go deeper into the city. A very unique experience, and one that I definitely will not be forgetting anytime soon. A very memorable game, and also a very memorable trophy list. And I love a good trophy list that, you know, has a solid 35 trophies. But man, those games that have like 45, 48, 50 plus trophies, and a game experience that you can beat in like 8 to 10 hours, that's my kind of game. And that's Concrete Genie, okay? One playthrough, no real difficulty specific things, no new game plus necessary. You really just have to kind of enjoy the gameplay experience, kind of play at your own pace, while kind of doing a lot of the miscellaneous stuff along the way, because you can kind of do city-specific or chapter select once you've rolled credits, but it's probably to your benefit as you're going along to make sure that you collected all the things in each district, and doing a lot of the monster-specific things in each district to kind of save you some time towards the tail end. But as you can see here, like, high five your genie after scoring a basket. So in one of the districts, there's a basketball hoop. So you can pick up the basketball, shoot a basket, and then walk up to your monster and then give him a high five. Play peekaboo, sit by the campfire, scare or delight one of your genies with a lightning strike. So one of the things you can draw with your sketchbook is different kind of elemental things like rain, clouds, rainbows, or in this case, lightning. And you can draw that to scare one of your genies, and then that will unlock a trophy. So it's just neat every once in a while as you kind of make some progress in the main game, pull open the trophy list, via obviously PlayStation, and just take a look at, let's just chip away at some of these trophies, right? Let's do some of these fun little mini side quest activities with your genies, unlock these trophies. And throughout the experience, it really has this feeling of a 3D platformer in the sense of what you collect and what you need to collect for the platinum. And what I mean by that is, as you're drawing this graffiti all over the city, there's lights that are strung around the city that are all out, because it's a very dark city. You're effectively bringing and breathing life into this city that's been taken over by this darkness. And so the more you draw, the more these lights that are strung up begin to receive their power back. And so when you open the map of the game, you can see across the city where the lights haven't been lit up yet. So it's just kind of this, it's similar to pulling open a map in like a Mario game and seeing that, okay, well, I need to go find these coins or these stars over in this side of the map. Let's go over there and kind of clean that up, and let's go to the other side of the map and continue to progress right towards not just beating the game, but ultimately earning the platinum trophy. So Concrete Genie, can't recommend it enough. You can get it for super cheap. And as you can kind of see when I go back here, I actually have 53 of 56 trophies because there are 3 VR specific trophies that you can earn in this game. And I could definitely see myself playing through the entirety of it again in VR because it's this really kind of surreal, psychedelic experience with these very vibrant, colorful colors. And so to kind of create that kind of art with the VR wands and stuff like that, I think would be a pretty neat experience. But all in all, Concrete Genie, fantastic game and definitely a memorable trophy collecting experience. Now, I should have mentioned this with Concrete Genie, but at the beginning of this year, I did kind of a backlog trophy collecting video where I was going through my PSN profile, looking at all the games I've unlocked trophies in to date where I've not earned the platinum, and then created a list of 10 games that I was hoping to earn the platinum in. Now, in my next video, we'll probably pull open that spreadsheet and actually kind of do a genuine check-in of like, of the 10, which did I earn? Concrete Genie was on that list, as was Spirit in the Mouse. So, spoiler alert, we didn't get all 10 that I sought out earning this year, but we did pretty decent, I would say. And again, we earned 20 platinums overall, so I would say it was definitely a successful year trophy collecting. Now, I've talked about this in many of my previous trophy collecting videos, so I won't kind of beat the same drum here. You know, I love my 3D platformers. The 3D platformers that I love most are the ones like Banjo-Kazooie, Tinykin, Yooka-Laylee, where you're in these sprawling environments and you can just see collectibles littered all over the world. And then when you talk to certain NPCs, maybe you spin up some side quests to earn additional collectibles. That is what Spirit in the Mouse is. You're in this quaint, quiet little French village, and talking about power being restored in Concrete Genie, all of the power has gone out in this city. So you're playing as this mouse and you're struck by lightning, and you naturally, Spirit in the Mouse, you kind of get these spirit lightning-like abilities, and you can do these quests for these different folks around the city to kind of help restore power. And while you're doing that, you're constantly collecting like these little energy orbs in a variety of different districts, again, across this entire French village. These light bulbs, so collect 1, 10, 50, and 100. You could compare those to a star in a Mario 3D platformer or a Jiggy in a game like Banjo-Kazooie. And so the game does require you to essentially collect everything there is to find in the game, but you can beat this game and get the platinum in probably 8 to 10 hours. Although I will say, you go up here, there is no guide, and there's no real guide on YouTube for the platinum either. So that should in no way stop you from playing this otherwise really pleasant, cheerful little 3D platformer. Just know that you're kind of on your own in those districts when you're looking for like just a few more light bulbs. You're gonna have to like kind of scour every square inch of the levels. But as you can see here, collect 350 energy in each of these different districts. 200, 100. Those are just coins in a Mario game, essentially. They're everywhere. They're not difficult to find. And then you can see these trophies here, like help Sophia finish her homework, allow Eugene to express his creativity and peace. These are the quests that you're completing as you're kind of navigating and going through the city. So if you are a fan of 3D platformers, especially ones that are more collectathon style, give Spirit in the Mouse a try. You can probably get it for like less than 10 bucks. And it only takes you 8 to 10 hours to earn the platinum. A very charming little platformer, for sure. Now we get into Days Gone Remastered, a game that I originally played on PlayStation 4, and I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 hours in was like, yeah, if we've got 50 more hours of this, I'm not interested. And I put it down, never went back, until I did, when the remaster came out earlier this year, and within 2 to 3 weeks, I powered through 75, 80 hours later, earned the platinum, and had become a bit of a big fan of Days Gone, I would say. I think it is a very long and misunderstood gem, and hopefully at the end of this, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, if not more, I can encourage more people to give this game a try if you have not already. And I'll just say at the top, one of the reasons why this is such a memorable platinum experience is because I got to the very end of the game, and you kind of are infiltrating this camp to kind of beat the last bad dude, and you get to the top of this mountain in the center of this like lake city like place, and then you're kind of going into this cave like area, and so you're kind of going down this spiral like mountainside thing. And I remember as I'm kind of going down, I'm just starting to see like lanterns and objects that should be sitting on crates or boxes or things like that are floating. And I thought, well, that's kind of odd, but I don't know what's going on. Maybe just a simple glitch. And then when I got to my quest marker, I recognized that there was no floor. There was no ability for me to actually progress and continue to move forward down this spiral mountainside. And I thought, well, that's really odd. I hit a weird glitch. Let's do a simple reset, replay this part of the mission, and we'll be good to go. I proceeded to do that 10 more times, and it still didn't work. I was scouring Reddit forums, YouTube, whatever I could find to determine what the heck was going on here. To make a long story short, I had to switch from performance mode to quality. That's what fixed it for me. Come to find out, this was a problem in the original game that made its way into the remaster, and somehow Bend Studio did not fix this. So be warned, if you're going into Days Gone, when you're in that final mission stretch, if you're playing on performance, you might just want to toggle on quality mode to avoid the hassle that I went through. But Days Gone, my goodness, what a interesting experience. You're playing as Deacon. It's kind of Walking Dead meets Sons of Anarchy. You're riding this Harley Davidson motorcycle all across this zombie apocalyptic kind of Seattle Northwest area, and you're kind of going into all these different enemy encampments and making friends with different kind of warring, not tribes, but groups of people just trying to make a living in this post-apocalyptic world. But as some are probably very familiar with the beginning of the game, Sarah, your wife, you're separated, and so the entire game is really centered around this idea of, is my wife still alive? And Deacon doing everything in his power to try and find her. So I won't go into any of the story spoilers specifically, but what I will say to kind of summarize my overall thoughts before jumping into the trophy guide specifically is that this is very much like the Walking Dead TV show. A show that went on for like 11 or 12 seasons, probably 3 to 5 seasons too long, because there were just stretches of episodes where like nothing was happening. Like, I mean, nothing of substance, but you'd get to those season finales and everything that happened, the breadcrumbs that were sprinkled and the episodes that you thought were boring were necessary for certain character payoffs, for certain character victories or deaths, or just moments in the show that are celebrated and looked at as some of the best moments across all of Walking Dead, right? That is Days Gone, the video game, where there are like hours of just boring breadcrumbs being sprinkled, nothing of substance is happening. It's still requiring you to stretch from one end of the map to the next to kill a bunch of zombies or take out some group of people, and 10 hours go by before anything meaningful happens again. But those moments when something does happen that's meaningful and surprising, and I didn't see that coming, for me personally, it was worth all of the like boring, oh my gosh, when are we gonna actually get beyond these hours of just riding my bike from one town to the next. And the music in this game, phenomenal. It's so good. But I will be talking more about Days Gone Remastered during my Game of the Year video here in a couple weeks. Let's jump into the trophy list because that is why you're probably here and you've already fast forwarded to this part. So more or less, beat the story. You're going to knock out a lot of trophies along the way. Then, and I don't think anything's missable in this game either, which is nice for a game this massive and that requires this much of your time. One of the things that you should do as soon as you start playing this game, if you are going to go on the trek that is Days Gone and you have aspirations of earning the Platinum Trophy, whenever you kill an enemy, you can loot them for just like crafting materials, ammo, whatever it might be. You have to do that a significant number of times for a particular trophy, so just start doing it in the beginning. If you start doing it in the beginning, you're not going to run into issues later down the road. And then in addition to that, like your kind of open world Ubisoft type games, there are plenty of marauder camps, so think like outposts in a Far Cry game, infestation, exterminator. So there are plenty of these nests where these freakers or zombies are kind of like residing. So it requires you to kind of like scour the map for all these different locations that are flagged. They're you can add them as like quest markers. Throw a Molotov cocktail, a bunch of zombies come out, you have to kill them all. There's like a billion of those that you have to do. Ambush camps, those are similar to the Marauder ones. And World's End, I can't remember, but all of these are more or less requiring you to do the same thing, is going to a particular part of the map, sneaking your way around camp, taking out people one by one, or taking down hordes of zombies. And then beyond that, it's just a lot of like collectibles. There's your simple like documents and artifacts and research paper type things that you'll come across when you're taking down these different camps that you have to be mindful of collecting. And I don't think they required you to collect all of them. It really is like maybe 50% of them. So I think some of the final collectibles or trophies for me were some of those like research document collectible things. But just by playing through the game normally, I'd already collected like 70% of what I needed for the trophy unlock. So it wasn't anything too strenuous in the end game post credits to go back, run around the map, and do these things. But man, the simple gameplay loop of playing as Deacon, riding your motorcycle, resources are scarce, you have to be mindful of how much fuel you have in your bike, and not only that, but like how much resources you have when it comes to ammo and things like that, because you can very easily be stranded out in the middle of the map. You're far away from where there's any kind of fuel, you don't have a lot of ammo, and then a horde of zombies starts chasing you, and you've got to find a way to get out of there. And the tensions are so high, and the pressure is on, and just kind of the anxiety that you get, it's like running away from Mr. X in Resident Evil 2. And I just, doing that for dozens of hours sounds crazy to some, but I personally loved it. And the best comparison I can make is if you've played and gotten platinums in an Assassin's Creed or a Far Cry type game, that is more or less the trophy experience of Days Gone. I will say it again, a long, misunderstood gem of a game. I'd love if this studio had an opportunity to do a sequel, because it does end on a cliffhanger that is pretty fascinating. And I think it would be really exciting to see them make a sequel that's more refined, more condensed, more focused. I think that could go a long way in winning over more people as it relates to Days Gone. But I think it's worth your time, worth giving a shot for sure. All right, we'll keep clipping along here. I just talked about Days Gone for 10 minutes, so I would love to kind of pause here as we're kind of in the middle of this video. Do you prefer me to just quickly go down one by one? Here are the trophies, here are my thoughts, decent game, next game, move on. Or do you prefer me to kind of elaborate? What are my thoughts? What did I think about the gameplay experience? How do the trophies complement and support that overall experience? And continue to kind of deliver on this more podcast-oriented video that's a little bit longer. What do you prefer? Condensed to the point, more podcast-oriented, go a little bit deeper into each game? I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section below. Hopefully you are trophy collecting while you're listening and watching this video. But next up, we have Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, a game that has been in my backlog for many, many years, not because I never finished it, but because I couldn't beat that dang Impossible Lair final level. And we finally did it this year, okay? And I'm not going to go into the full gameplay experience because I talked about this in a recent trophy collecting video as well, but the moment that I actually unlocked the platinum, beat the final impossible layer level, was captured on camera by my brother-in-law. So I'm going to reinsert that into this video. It was already in one of my recent trophy collecting videos, but I think it warrants re-rolling that clip to show how happy I was to finally roll credits properly in Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Layer.
Oh, hey! Oh, I thought I died! Let's see. I did it! I did it! Yes! We've got the freaking platinum in Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Layer. That's right. We freaking did it. After 5 or 6 freaking years of madness, we did the dang thing. I will never play this game again.
All right, moving right along, we have Dark Souls 3, one of my favorite FromSoft games of all time. I've replayed this a couple different times, and in order to get the platinum, it requires multiple playthroughs because of the rings, the sorceries, all the stuff you have to collect. It's kind of ridiculous, but special shout out as we jump into the actual guide here to my brother-in-law, because there is absolutely no way I would have gotten the miracles, the covenants, the rings, the sorceries, any of those collectibles on my own. My brother-in-law is like a wizard when it comes to a particular set of games. Monster Hunter, Pokemon, Minecraft, RuneScape, and anything FromSoft related. And he could pretty much play these games with a blindfold on and still get to the end successfully. And so he helped tremendously in grinding out all of these missables. I've, of course, rolled credits in the game. I've beaten the bosses. I've done the dang thing. But again, when it comes to those missables, there's no way I could ever have gotten this platinum trophy without his help. He also helped me get the platinum in Dark Souls 1 Remastered. That was part of my road and journey to earning 100 platinum trophies, kind of in that final stretch there. But yeah, taking a quick look, obviously you can enjoy the game as most Dark Souls FromSoft games go. In the very end, there's a couple different decisions you can make. If you save scum it, you can quickly kind of get those end of game gold trophies to kind of save yourself the hassle of needing to replay the game in its entirety to make those different decisions. You can see here, like, to the link first flame ending versus some of the others, beating all the bosses, and ultimately, New Game Plus run, getting all of the collectibles before actually securing the platinum. So, I won't go on long about this one. I will just say once again, thank you to my brother-in-law for helping me acquire all of those collectibles, because there's no way I could have ever done it without you. All right, next up, if you played nothing else coming away from this video, talk about memorable game experiences and memorable platinum trophies, check out a weird indie game called Indica. Shout out to my good friend and fellow trophy collecting enthusiast, Blinkoom, here on YouTube. I'll have a link to his channel down below. This was in his top 10 games of the year in the year that it released, which was, let's take a look down here. It was last year, 2024. And I just thought, like, what in the heck is going on? You look at this weird, like, possessed, demon-looking Voldemort nun, and you're thinking, why in the world would that show up on anyone's top 10 games of the year list? And after playing it, I can see why. So to kind of set the stage for Indica, you're playing as this young woman of the same name. You're playing as this nun, and you're going through this kind of journey of self-discovery, I would say, where she's really questioning this idea of like her faith, sin versus salvation. And she has this kind of like, I don't want to say hallucinations, but it's almost like she has psychosis or she's schizophrenic, where this devil-like voice is talking to her. And when she's looking in the mirror during certain sequences, there's like this spider-like devil creature haunting her. And so she has to go on this journey to understand, like, is she kind of like morally bound to this religious belief system that she's had over the course of her life, or can she break free from that? That's all I'll say about the story. It is so trippy, mega bizarre, and unlike anything I've ever played before, and it's a very brief experience. So let's jump into the trophy guide without spoiling anything story related. One playthrough, 3 hours. That's it. There's chapter specific or chapter select at the end. This is not one of those games where you want to have the trophy guide up while you're playing, because there are things that you could avoid needing to kind of go back and redoing if you had the list up, but you want to just go through this experience, be completely honed in on what's going on, trying to make sense of the story, and just go on the trippy, weird, wild ride that is Indica. It is more or less kind of this walking simulator, third-person perspective. In some instances, you'll be in kind of more of an open village. You can kind of wander around, maybe talk to some NPCs, but it is more or less you kind of going from A to B, environmental puzzle solving, and just making sense of this wacky, weird journey that this character is on. It is, at the time of recording this, on the game catalog, depending on the PlayStation Plus tier that you have. So if you're into just weird, trippy, walking simulator, indie type experiences, check out Indica. Memorable does not do it justice. You will never forget Indica once you roll credits. Next up, we have a game that I never thought we'd ever see, okay? If you know and you've been following my channel, you'll know that I don't just love 3D platformers, I also love Yooka-Laylee, a game that took a lot of heat upon release, and I won't go into all those details. I actually recorded a video leading up to the release of this remaster remake, Yooka-Laylee, and I kind of talked through all the reasons why I loved the game when it originally came out, and why I was anticipating this remaster so much. And I will just cut to the chase. They absolutely crushed it with this remaster. I have always been very forward in saying that Yooka-Laylee had its problems. It felt kind of aimless in a lot of the levels. You didn't really know where you were supposed to go. It was just kind of your curiosity leading you through this level, collecting quills, collecting pages, doing all the necessary quests to unlock all the pages necessary to unlock those newer worlds deeper into the game. But ultimately, it felt a little unfinished. There was a level of unpolish that was very present. Not the case with this remaster. It feels like the original vision and intent for Yooka-Laylee. And not only that, since so many years have passed since the original game came out, I say so many, it came out in, 2017, 2018, but I really think that some of the 3D platformers that have come out along the way, like a Mario Odyssey, like an Astrobot, it really kind of bakes in a lot of those games' ideas. And what I mean by that is when you're navigating these different levels, and it's most apparent on the first, the tribal stock tropics or whatever. In that level, it feels like every 20 to 30 steps, there's a challenge. There's something you can do. There's something to earn, something to find, a way to earn another pagey, a bunch of quills hidden in a very kind of inconspicuous spot. Like around every corner, there's something to do, as opposed to the first game where it was almost like you had to seek and find what this game wanted you to do in its worlds. Not the case in this game. Very Mario Odyssey-like, very Astrobot level design. And that's like one of the highest remarks I can make about how they've completely overhauled the level design in Yooka-Rayplay. And when it comes to trophy collecting, my gosh, people, you are in for an absolute treat, because one of the things that might rub people the wrong way in Yooka-Laylee or your other 3D platformer trophy lists is that it does ask a lot of you to collect everything. And when you're down to those final few things and you're trying to find everything there is to find, it can be frustrating to get those final few collectibles. Well, this game doesn't need you to do that. There are over 300 pages, which are the Jiggy equivalent in Banjo-Kazooie, or Star equivalent, Moon equivalent in something like Mario Odyssey, a Mario game. You only have to collect like 120 to see the end of the game and get the Platinum Trophy. And I feel like in that first level, you're just popping trophies right and left. You're collecting pages right and left. I mean, it's just dopamine hit after dopamine hit. I mean, for trophy collectors and 3D platformer fans alike, it is picture perfect. And I know I'm like salivating at the mouth talking about this game, but I'm just so thankful that this team at Playtonic has been able to deliver on what I think was just a misunderstood, overly criticized 3D platform that came out back then. And I finally feel like it's going to get the respect that it rightfully deserves. And just an incredible trophy list, a fantastic game. And if you're looking for a fun game to cozy up on the couch here around the holiday, around Christmas, physical copies are finally here. They finally released physical copies of this game. You can get it on all gaming platforms. I won't dive into all the trophies here. I'll leave that as a little bit of a surprise, but just know that it is, it's just a lot of fun, man. It's just a lot of fun, and definitely showing up in my top 10 games of 2025 for sure. Now, what's not going to show up in my top 10 games of 2025 is this goofy game called Mind's Eye. I learned about this from a friend and someone that I follow on Twitch and YouTube, Pete Dorr. Many of you might be familiar with him. He streamed this game, and it was notoriously released earlier this year completely broken. There was a day one patch to basically fix and make the game far more playable. But if you want the truest, most authentic Mind's Eye game experience, and by association, trophy collecting experience, turn off the internet or disconnect your PS5 from the internet and play this game without the day one patch. You're like pulling out of the driveway and your character's body will continue to move, but the car will remain in the driveway. Or you might be talking to a character in the third person. You can kind of see close up. Everyone's moving, talking the way they should. And then all of a sudden, the skin from both characters is just stripped from their bodies. And you just see teeth and eyeballs just floating, having a discussion. Like, absolute chaos, hilarious. And if you want to enjoy the experience, not the way the developers intended, play it without that day one patch applied. I personally, since I watched Pete play the game in such a broken state, I played the game with the patch applied, and this is seriously like could have been a game that released on the Xbox 360 PS3 that I just never got around to playing. It is your generic, and I mean generic, sci-fi character action game where you're playing as this guy who used to be in the US Army, and then you like fast forward however many years, he has this weird like little cybernetic patch on his neck that gives him these like weird powers, and it is basically a Grand Theft Auto style experience. And what I mean by that is in its quest structure, it's having you every single time get in the car, drive to the other side of the town and killing a bunch of dudes, or hey, you need to assassinate this guy, so go to this parking garage, get to the top of it, get a sniper rifle out, pick someone off, or get into and control a drone to go spy on some people to collect some information necessary to progress this quest. Things like that. It is your generic character action game from the Xbox 360 PS3 era. And thankfully, it's also a super easy trophy list. 10 hours, one playthrough, everything's pretty much unmissable. You can go back and do chapter select specific stuff if you need to once you've rolled credits. I also enjoyed that it has a very similar trophy structure to something like Uncharted, where you have to get a certain number of kills with different weapon types, or unlocking all of the different guns in the game, getting 50 people killed with headshots, 50 enemies are stunned with your little taser gun thing, eliminate 100 enemies, 25 enemies with explosions, like all things that you're probably going to do naturally as you're playing, but similar to the Uncharted games, it's always fun to play or pay particular attention to the aim reticle. Make sure you're getting those headshots to ensure you're unlocking the trophies. I can't comfortably recommend Mind's Eye to any normal person, but if you're watching this video and you're a trophy junkie like me, you're probably already on GameFly or eBay adding this game to your cart, and it's halfway to your house already. Okay, let's just be honest with ourselves here. Otherwise, play better games. Okay, this game is kind of jank and not very good, but if you can pick it up for like 10-15 bucks, which is what it's pretty much going for right now at retail, it might be worth playing for a weekend and earning that platinum trophy. Definitely a memorable experience, especially if you play without that day one patch. All right, everyone, those are 10 of the 20 platinum trophies that I earned over the course of 2025. Again, these are more modern, more of the newer release games. Next video, we are going to be diving deep into the classics catalog, a lot of PSP games, PS1, PS2 platinum trophies that I earned as part of that classics catalog on PlayStation Plus. A lot of really good stuff to get into, but as always, I want to hear from you down in the comments section below. How many platinums have you earned so far this year? Have you been doing well? Are there platinums that you want to earn here the next couple of weeks to end 2025? And did you enjoy this video? If you did, I have plenty more platinum trophy collecting topics that I'd love to cover in future videos, but certainly if there are specific trophy related discussions you'd like me to speak on in future videos, let me know that down in the comment section below. But I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.